Stop checking your stomach in the mirror every single morning. Until you understand what's actually happening underneath, all you're doing is guessing, and guessing is exactly why so many people quit in week 1, right before the real change begins. Have you ever eaten well for 7 straight days, stepped on the scale, and seen almost nothing move? If that's happened to you, you're not broken, and you're not doing it wrong. You're just missing the timeline. Not your doctor, and not the trainer charging you by the session. They weigh you once a month, glance at the number, and call it stable or fine. What they don't explain is what your body is quietly doing to your belly fat in the days between those visits, because most of them were never trained to explain it in the first place. Here's what almost nobody tells you. Belly fat doesn't disappear in a straight line. It moves through 4 distinct stages, and each stage hides a different mistake that can quietly stall your progress if you don't know what to look for. Miss the wrong one, and you can do everything right for a month and still feel like nothing changed. Somewhere, a $70 billion weight loss industry is selling you 10-day flat belly programs, detox teas, and waist trainers. None of it changes what your body actually does, week by week. At the cellular level, it can't, because your body was never designed to release stored belly fat on a marketing schedule. The real answer costs nothing. It's simply understanding what day 7, day 14, day 21, and day 28 actually mean for your midsection, and almost nobody explains it in order. Most articles jump straight to eat less, move more, as if every week of a month behaves the same way. It doesn't. Your body handles water, digestion, hormones, and stored fat completely differently, depending on how long you've been consistent, which is exactly why the same effort can look like failure in week 1 and look like real progress by week 4. Let me tell you about Frank. 68 years old, recently retired, tired of feeling thicker around the middle than he used to be. He cut back his portions, added a short walk, and did everything the way he thought he was supposed to. 7 days later, the scale had barely moved. He almost gave up right there, convinced his metabolism was broken. But Frank kept going, because what he didn't know yet was that day 7 was never supposed to show dramatic results. It was only the starting line. Somewhere around day 14, he noticed his afternoon energy crashes had started to disappear. By day 21, his shirts felt looser through the middle even though the scale hadn't moved dramatically. And by day 28, his waist measurement was down over an inch. His energy had noticeably improved, and for the first time in years, his pants fit the way they used to. Nothing about Frank's plan was extreme. He didn't skip meals, run himself into exhaustion, or buy a single supplement. He simply understood what each stage was actually for, and he stopped judging early days by results that were never supposed to show up until later. Today we're walking through exactly what happens inside your body at day 7, day 14, day 21, and day 28, the 4 checkpoints that actually determine whether your belly fat comes off or quietly stays put. Don't tune out before day 14. That's the stage where most people accidentally sabotage their own progress without ever realizing it. Before we get into it, I'm curious. Somewhere in the last few weeks, have you had a day where the scale genuinely surprised you, in either direction? Keep that number in mind, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why it happened. Day 7. The truth behind the numbers. Think of your weight the way you'd think of the tide. It rises and falls every few hours depending on water, salt, food still moving through your system, and even how well you slept. But underneath all that motion, the ocean itself is either slowly rising or slowly falling. Day 7 is when you finally get to see which direction your tide is actually moving. Here's the uncomfortable truth. In the first 7 days, your body is not really burning much visible belly fat yet. What you're measuring instead is water weight, glycogen, and digestive changes, all of which can swing your number wildly from one morning to the next. That's exactly why the mirror lies to you. Lighting, posture, bloating, and hydration can make your stomach look completely different from one evening to the next morning, without a single pound of fat actually changing. So instead of reacting to any single day, This first week is about collecting honest evidence. Weigh yourself each morning, right after using the bathroom, before eating or drinking anything, on the same scale, wearing roughly the same thing each time. At the end of 7 days, add all 7 numbers together and divide by 7. That weekly average is far more honest than any single morning could ever be. Add one more measurement while you're at it. Wrap a tape measure around your waist at the belly button first thing in the morning, once a week. And take a simple photo in the same lighting, same distance, same pose. None of this changes your body yet. It simply tells you the truth about what's already happening, so that every decision from here forward is based on evidence instead of emotion. If your weekly average is drifting down even slightly and your waist measurement holds steady or shrinks, your plan is already working even if a couple of individual mornings look disappointing. That data becomes your foundation for everything else. And here's why this step matters more than people realize. Without it, most people make decisions based on panic instead of evidence. One heavy morning, and they cut their calories too aggressively. One bloated evening, and they add an extra workout they didn't need. Both reactions can actually slow you down, because a body under too much stress tends to hold on to fat rather than release it. Day 7 isn't glamorous, and it won't show much change in the mirror, but it's the one step that keeps you from quitting a plan that was actually working, simply because you misread a single number. Collecting the right numbers is worthless, though, if hidden calories are quietly canceling them out, and that's exactly what shows up by day 14. Day 14, the hidden leak. Picture a kitchen tap that's dripping so slowly you barely notice it. By itself, one drop means nothing. Left running for 2 full weeks, though, it can fill an entire bucket without you ever seeing it happen. That's precisely what happens with the calories most people never count. By day 14, most people aren't failing because of their main meals. They're failing because of the small things around the meals: a splash of oil in the pan, cream in the coffee, salad dressing, a handful of nuts here, a sip of something sweet there. None of it looks like much on its own. Stacked across 2 weeks, it can quietly erase an entire calorie deficit without a single obvious mistake. Even genuinely healthy foods can work against you here. Avocado, granola, peanut butter, and olive oil are wonderful for your health, but they're also dense in calories, which means a completely nutritious plate can still contain more energy than you'd expect without ever looking oversized. So for these 2 weeks, without changing anything yet, simply pay closer attention. Notice your portions, check a label or two, and be honest about the extras around your meals. Most people discover it isn't their whole diet that needs rebuilding, it's 1 or 2 repeat habits quietly working against them. Maybe it's the handful of crackers eaten straight from the box while cooking dinner. Maybe it's the just 1 glass of wine on a Friday that quietly becomes 2. Whatever it is, you can't fix what you haven't noticed, and 2 weeks is usually enough time for the pattern to reveal itself clearly. Once you spot the leak, don't slash everything at once. Removing every food you enjoy usually backfires within a week or 2, leading to cravings and a return to old habits. Instead, remove the least satisfying calories first: the sugary drink, the extra oil, the mindless snack, and replace them with water, lighter options, and measured portions. That alone often creates a meaningful deficit before you even touch your main meals. Then build your plate around a clear source of protein like chicken, fish, eggs, beans, or Greek yogurt, along with vegetables for volume and fullness. A rough target of around 3/4 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight, spread across your meals rather than saved for dinner, helps protect your muscle and keeps hunger under control while you're in a deficit. You don't need to eliminate bread, rice, or pasta either. Let roughly 80 to 90% of what you eat come from nutritious, minimally processed foods and leave a little room for the rest. That flexibility is often the difference between a plan you can repeat for a month and one you abandon after 10 days. I'd genuinely like to know, once you started paying closer attention, was there one hidden habit that surprised you? Maybe it was the coffee. Maybe it was the weekend snacking. Whatever it was, you're not alone, and noticing it is already half the work. Before we get into day 21, take just a second to like this video and subscribe if you're finding this helpful. It genuinely helps this kind of information reach more people who need it. And stay with me, because day 28 is the one that ties everything together. It's the checkpoint that decides whether all your efforts so far actually becomes visible. Day 21, the quiet slowdown. Think about how your phone quietly dims its own screen brightness to save battery once it senses it's running low, without ever asking your permission. Your body does something remarkably similar once you start eating less. By day 21, many people notice their progress appears to stall, even though nothing about their eating has changed. The reason usually isn't a damaged metabolism. It's something called your daily movement outside of formal exercise, the walking, standing, fidgeting, and general activity that happens across an ordinary day. When calories drop, your body often responds by quietly reducing this everyday movement without you ever deciding to slow down. You sit a little longer, walk a little less, and move a little more slowly, and the calories you'd normally burn throughout the day begin to shrink right along with it. The fix here isn't to punish yourself with exhausting cardio. That tends to increase hunger and fatigue, which makes everything harder to sustain. Instead, start by simply noticing your current average number of steps across a few days, without forcing any change yet. Then add somewhere around 1,000 to 2,000 extra steps a day, gradually, if you're averaging 4,000. Aim for 5,000 or 6,000, not 12. A short walk after lunch, a walk while you're on the phone, or parking a little farther away can quietly restore the movement your body has been trimming without your permission. This single adjustment often restarts progress that felt completely stuck, simply by giving your body back the daily activity it had quietly taken away. And it doesn't need to feel like exercise at all. Folding laundry standing up instead of sitting, taking one extra lap around the grocery store, or stepping outside for 10 minutes after dinner can be enough. The goal by day 21 isn't to become an athlete. It's simply to stop your own body from working against you without your permission. It's worth mentioning, too, why so many people miss this stage entirely. Formal exercise is easy to notice because it's scheduled and deliberate. Daily movement is invisible, which means it can quietly shrink for 2 or 3 weeks before anyone realizes their overall activity has dropped at all. That's exactly why the scale can stall even when someone swears nothing about their routine has changed. Something did change. It just wasn't the part they were watching. Day 28. The checkpoint that reveals everything. Here's something almost nobody explains clearly. Everything you've done up to this point, the honest tracking, the closed calorie leak, the restored daily movement creates the deficit. But by itself, it doesn't decide what your body looks like once the fat comes off. Day 28 is where that gets decided, because this is where resistance training and recovery finally come into the picture. When you're eating less, your body needs a reason to hold on to your muscle instead of breaking it down for fuel. Strength training provides exactly that reason. It signals to your body that this tissue is still needed, which is what ultimately gives your waistline a firmer, more defined shape rather than simply a smaller, softer one. 2 to 4 sessions a week is plenty for most people. You don't need anything complicated, simple, controlled movements like squats, rows, presses. And a step forward with resistance cover almost everything you need. If you're newer to strength training, even bodyweight versions of these movements, done with good form, send the same signal to your body. The goal isn't to lift the heaviest weight in the room. It's consistency, done safely week after week. Add cardio as a supporting tool. Not a punishment. 2 or 3 sessions of 20 to 30 minutes at a pace where you can still speak in short sentences is enough for most people. More isn't automatically better here. Pushing too much cardio on top of a calorie deficit tends to raise hunger and fatigue faster than it raises results. And yes, direct ab training still has a place here, 2 or 3 times a week. Not because it burns belly fat directly, but because it strengthens the muscle underneath, so that once the fat above it thins out, there's genuine definition waiting underneath rather than nothing at all. Simple, controlled core work, a plank, a slow leg raise, a gentle rotation exercise done consistently, will do more for you over 4 weeks than 100 rushed sit-ups ever could. By day 28, someone following all 4 checkpoints typically sees their weekly weight average trending down, their waist measurement noticeably smaller, and just as importantly, their strength holding steady or even improving, which is the clearest sign that what's being lost is fat, not muscle. This is also why 2 people can lose the exact same number of pounds over 4 weeks and end up looking completely different. One person loses weight and simply becomes a smaller version of where they started, soft in the same places. The other loses fat while holding onto muscle and ends up looking noticeably leaner and more defined for the same number on the scale. The difference isn't luck. It's whether day 28's training was part of the plan from the beginning. So here's the full picture. Day 7 isn't about results, it's about finally collecting the truth instead of guessing. Day 14 closes the hidden leak that quietly cancels out good intentions. Day 21 restores the everyday movement your body tries to trim away without asking. And day 28 brings in the training that decides whether all of that effort actually becomes visible. None of this requires starvation, extreme workouts, or a single miracle product. It simply requires knowing what each stage is actually for, so you stop judging week 1 by week 4 standards. And if you're reading this after your own day 7, or your own day 14, and it doesn't feel like much is happening yet, that's not proof you're failing. For most people, it's proof the plan is right on schedule. The visible change tends to show up later than the actual progress does, which is exactly why so many people quit in week 2, just before the results they were working toward were about to become visible. So tell me, out of these 4 checkpoints, which one do you think has been quietly holding you back? Was it the tracking, the hidden calories, the daily movement, or the training? I'd love to know where you're starting from. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If even one part of this helped make sense of your own progress, consider subscribing so you don't miss what comes next. Be patient with yourself, trust the timeline, and I'll see you in the next one.